Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Portsmouth Coffee Talks podcast. I'm Slim Overton, and I'm here with co-hosts Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning, co-hosts. How you doing?
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning.
Okay, so now we have to prepare for snow, possible snow. I just heard on the weather for Thursday, so let's get ready. I thought I'd bring that up for people who hadn't heard. Get ready for snow, and a few inches can hurt us, and they're talking maybe four, maybe five. So be prepared, y'all, just in case. But
Yes.
anyway, good morning. Every day we rise. It's a great day to be alive. And we have a special guest with us. And, this is Portsmouth Talk, but we have a Portsmouth native on here, Jimmy Gray, and he is now the mayor of the city of Hampton, but he was born and raised right here in the city of Portsmouth, Virginia, and went to Portsmouth Catholic High School. And from there, Colonel went to Hampton University,
hmm
and I guess that was sort of, Hampton University. And then you went to Troy and took public administration.
I did. I mean, my journey was through community college route first at Tidewater Community College, and then doing my career in the fire service, and go back and work on the degrees. Really, because that's what you needed to be promoted in the fire service, and so quite a few of my fire service colleagues were attending classes at Hampton University. So by that time, I was living in Norfolk, so spent quite a bit of time sitting in traffic trying to get to Hampton to class in the evenings. It was worth the effort.
Yeah, but you did it. You did it indeed. And I said all that to say the public administration major and going to Hampton, and full circle, you end up as mayor of Hampton,
Yeah.
So, but it all started here in the city of Portsmouth. So, I mean, when you were starting out, I mean, your first job, looks like you came out of Portsmouth Catholic in '74, and looks like your first job was with the fire department. Am I correct?
Well, I had a small stop. I worked for the mental health hospital over in Norfolk for a couple of years. Actually got laid off, and that's how I ended up in the fire service. And looking for a new opportunity. And a friend of mine from Cavalier Manor told me that the fire service. I was down in Great Bridge one day, and I bumped into him, and he told me that the fire department was hiring, and so I applied. And I was actually going through the hiring process for the police department at the same time because I really had an interest in law enforcement, particularly the state police. But at the time, I couldn't meet the vision requirements for state police, so that knocked me out of that opportunity. So I was actually going through the hiring process for the Portsmouth Police Department, but the opportunity for the fire department was kind of intriguing. So I applied there and went through their process, and I actually got hired by the fire department before the police department. So just never looked back to law enforcement after that.
Wow, what a journey, and to end up as mayor, and you're not. It's Black History Month. You're not the first Black or African American mayor of the city of Hampton, but you're still history the same. You're still history. Anything we do in our race is making African Black history. So we appreciate that. And the other host's going to have some questions, and we'll continue our conversation. But coming up in Portsmouth, you mentioned the journey you made. And by being Black History Month, can you recall any Black leaders or just so people in your neighborhood that sort of influenced you uh, to to start your journey? And not knowing exactly which way you were going at first, but people that sort of impressed you uh, in the neighborhood or
Yeah.
professionally or something like that.
Well, there were quite a few people. I mean, while I wasn't really pursuing any opportunities in politics, I've always, enjoyed watching the process, observing, politics in local communities, particularly in Portsmouth. My father was back in the day. He worked in the shipyard for 35 years, as a lot of men and women have done in Portsmouth and still do. And so,
Mhm.
we, my mom worked for the General Electric plant for quite a few years until it closed. And so, and my dad was a golfer in Portsmouth. speaking of, we talked about Black History Month. My dad was a golfer, and he and another gentleman from our neighborhood, Mr. Linwood Bailey, who owned a barbershop down on Effingham Street. On you may Bailey's Barbershop there, the golfers, along with Mayor Holly, who was a golfer as well. And there was a point in time where I think blacks could only play golf at City Park Golf Course on a certain day. I believe it was on Mondays, and so it was my father and Mr. Holly, Mayor Holly, who wasn't mayor, Dr. Holly, and Mr. Bailey filed a suit, and were eventually allowed to force the golf course to open up, rule in their favor, and so blacks were then allowed to play golf on any day. My dad said on the first day that they could play there, he could not play because he couldn't get off from work to do that. So, but I mean, there were the local heroes who really fought the fight back then. Were certainly people who inspired me and people within my community. And so Portsmouth and many of the people who came through politics and community leaders were definitely inspiration to me in my career.
Yeah, and before they tune in, I want your journey. After you were on the fire department in Chesapeake, you went to Hampton and was a fire chief, and then you went from there to assistant city manager. And then that sort of pivoted into city government, administration wise. Then you were on the city council. Then you were vice mayor for 6 years. And then you became the mayor. You decided to run for mayor after Mayor Tuck decided not to pursue the office anymore. So what a journey. So it's been since November. So how's it been so far, getting acclimated into the office of the mayor?
It's been busy. And we had during this election, I'll just speak quickly on the election. This was the first year that Hampton's elections were on the same ballot with the federal election. When I ran in 22, when I ran for re-election for my seat in 22, we had a November election then. But the difference this year or 2024 with the federal election is the ballot was much busier. And so that made a difference. The early voting period that required you to spend a lot of time at the early voting precinct. So a lot of work had to be done in order to get elected. And so I spent a lot of time with some of those who were running. But at the end of the day, we actually had 5 new people who were elected to city council, including the mayor. And mainly because of the mayor's vacancy, and then I had to resign my seat to run. That opened up a special election, and then we had 3 seats in the general election. So it was a pretty busy ballot in Hampton. So I think we all learned a lot about how we needed to strategize our campaigns, and in the November election when you're on the ballot in the federal election this year. But a new council coming in, and so we, I think most of us know each other, and so we've had a chance to spend some time, a full-day retreat to talk about how we're going to work together as a council, and I think that was very beneficial to us. And so now, as we progress, I mean, we all come to the table with new things that we want to do and new strategies for the city. But at the end of the day, we're all about trying to help grow our city and grow the economy in our city. And so I think we'll work together very well. But it's been a busy, 3 months since the election. And so even now, as we move into preparing our budget this year, it's just things are getting even busier now. And then, of course, as we were talking earlier, all that's going on at the national level with the threats of cuts of jobs and grants and all that affects cities. We're trying to kind of determine how these are going to impact our budget this year. So it'll be interesting, but we'll lock arms and work together to get through it, I'm sure.
Yeah, a pretty diverse council as well, and Leah, four ladies and 3 men.
Yes, that's indeed this year for the first time. I mean, Hampton's always been a very diverse city, and particularly in government, both at the council level and in the administrative level. This year, we've had for the first time 4 women making up the majority of council this year. So I think that diversity is still there. So we're pretty proud of that, and we're still focused on diversity and giving people opportunities in Hampton, regardless of what's happening at the national level. We're still doing our part to trying to make sure all people are included in what we do, and demonstrate that we're an inclusive city.
You're going to have an amazing council this year with your 4 ladies on board. It's going to be an amazing time, I'm sure.
Yes, it will be. Yes.
You know, it's interesting that you talked about Hampton and how you're going to move forward and with diversity. And I don't know why our national leaders across the board just don't speak out with all the assaults on DEI and all these other programs, that they just don't call out to saying, yes, we have a white supremacist or a racist in the White House that just wants to attack anything, and DEI is a racist program to return us back to some form of segregation, or either with the advent of Musk coming on board, going back to an apartheid system where they are white leaders, white men do everything that they want to do, and from the federal government, state government, and all that. But as Slim talked about your resume, and it is clear. I mean, it is clear that you've put in the work. You've educated yourself. You've gone through the different steps, and you're well versed in what it should be to get to where you're at now as mayor. And you've touched a lot of departments, and and gotten your education. And some folks would stay on the other side, would say you're still a DEI electee, without looking at your resume to see how you got there, because they would still say you shouldn't be there because I need to have some alabaster looking guy in your seat, some blonde hair, blue eyed, European descent, tapping on his chest, throwing his Hitler Nazi sign in your seat.
Well, I think you're right that I think my resume kind of speaks for itself. That I have put in the work, and I think even in Hampton, I've been elected 4 times now, including mayor, with support from across the entire city.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty proud of that record, and happy to match that up for anybody who wants to challenge, whether I was a DEI appointment or not. I believe that, over the years, when you look at, the professional development that I put in, and the time I put into participating in leadership development programs around the region, that, all of that helps, kind of shape my perspective on our region, my city, communities. And so, I would definitely push back or challenge anybody who would want to say that was all based on DEI. And but it's unfortunate that this is where we are today. But I'm pretty proud of the work that Hampton's done to be an inclusive city. We've had programs in place for years to try to bring people of different races and genders together to talk about race and be open about race in our community. And but still, there's some who don't buy into that, and we hear it every day. And a lot of the emails I get from people who are asking us to drop our diversity programs in Hampton. But I can tell you that that's not something I'm going to support. And I'm pretty sure, I believe I have the support of my fellow council members, that we will continue to do the work we've been doing with being an inclusive community and offering these kinds of programs to help bring people together as opposed to tearing people apart.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mayor Gray, we need to clarify for the public's sake DEI. First of all, every person that I know who are of color who has been hired anywhere has to be twice as good as that person that they're working with. That's the first thing. So they're most highly qualified individuals when they go into these positions. Now, as according to the Department of Labor, the largest groups benefiting from DEI are white women, male
Mhm.
CEO, and white male CEOs. Latino, Hispanic Americans are number 2. Number 3 are Asian Americans. Number 4, Native Americans. 5, disabled Americans. 6, veteran Americans. 7, LGBTQ individuals. And last on that list are African Americans. And so when you really look at a DEI hire, all of those individuals who've been put into positions, elevated to positions in that man's administration are all DEI hires, but they are DEI hires who are unqualified.
Mhm.
They have no resume to take with them for the jobs that they're going into. So they are the true DEI hires. So we need to clarify the fact about this DEI, and they think they're hurting African Americans. They're hurting their own people by removing DEI from the hiring process. What do you have to say about that, Mayor?
Well, I think you're right. I think the DEI has benefited many people across races and genders, and so it's not just particularly programs that have benefited African Americans. And but unfortunately, too many people don't fully understand
Exactly.
what DEI or inclusion programs and diversity programs are and how they're benefiting the community. They have a singular focus on that they're benefiting one group of people when that's really
Hmm.
not the case. And so, we got to continue to tell people about that and speak about that and speak about the importance about that. I mean, we went through many years in this country of trying to make sure that African American people got opportunities, in education, in healthcare, in the employment arena as well. And so I think it's unfortunate now that we've got to make sure that we continue to put a watchful eye and be vigilant about that, and working toward not being able to allow them to roll back these programs that really not only have benefited us, but have benefited a lot of people and will
Right,
continue.
right. And and an amazing thing is to think that for him to think that he can end African American history and African American History Month, he doesn't have a right to do so. We make that determination as to whether we're going to celebrate African American history with or without his permission. It's going to continue on. So I don't know why he can even dream that it's even possible for him to do that.
Well, you know what, Leah? He believes, and we believe, that at the stroke of a pen, an executive order is the stroke of law. No, it is not. It is not the law. And then so we need to continue on. These universities that like Harvard and Yale and all these, and everybody's cowed down into them because they think that they're going to lose grants and all. They're going to lose the grants anyway because he's just
Exactly.
evil.
They're
But
going to be one turn.
continue your programs,
They're going to be the
especially
one
in the
hurt as
admissions
a result of the
program. Yeah.
grants being removed.
Yeah. And so you just got to continue on. And if doing the admission process and stuff like that, close your doors and just don't let the information out for them to go out and to attack you, just like you're getting these emails. Don't respond to them jokers, because they don't care about America, and especially with this Doge committee that's out there. And they say it's for government efficiency, but I always said it's destroying our government efficiently. And
Mhm.
it's almost like you have a Russian plant in the White House that's setting up for our demise. They've taken out all the IGs and all the watchdogs and just setting this up to where he is going to be, by the time the 4 years is up, he'll be the new dictator and he'll never leave that White House. And we're setting the tone for it. And so, but getting back to Black History Month, I was stationed, one of the last guys was stationed over there, Fort Monroe. And before it moved up before Cadet Command moved to Kentucky. And I always said even that move was political, because they moved those jobs out of Cadet Command and moved them up to with Mitch McConnell, and then moved it up to Kentucky. But I always look forward to the celebrations that we had and the rich history of how we got here at Fort Monroe, and to actually turn around now and saying you can't celebrate or you can't know this history now, it's unconscionable, especially for the young people coming up, because if they don't know their history, they're getting a little taste of it now, of how we're going backwards and not backsliding, but we're running back to the 40s and 30s and whatever. And so what say you that?
Well, my biggest concern right now is, at least as mayor, is to, kind of determine, how these and grants and funding, when you talk about cutting the Department of Education and the programs that it supports. I mean, we have programs within our city that, for example, that funded through the Department of Education that support kids who are in the age of 1 to 5 who have severe emotional or disabilities, and their families need the funding that's offered through those programs that are managed by our Community Services Board. And so, there are a lot of people, and again, there's no race attached to those programs. And so, they benefit the people and the kids that need it the most in our community. And so we got to make sure that we can do everything that we can from where we sit to be able to let our leaders know in Washington that we need these programs to continue, understand the impact that they're going to have on our communities. And so while we're trying to attack one portion of what a program might do, there's some downstream effect that may have severe consequences for families in our communities. And so, but we're prepared. We've had this conversation. We're prepared to make sure these families continue to get the services they need in spite of what's happening there. But it does have severe consequences, or could have severe consequences, not only for Hampton but any city that gets the funding to have citizens that or support citizens who need those services.
And Mayor Gray, you have to. I'm glad to see that you all are being proactive. You're not waiting for the axe to come down before making decisions as to what you need to do and what you need to have in place to serve your community. Right. So we can't sit back and wait to see what's going to happen next. We need to have a plan of action in place. And I'm happy to see that you do have a plan of action, you and your council, and that you're preparing yourself for whatever may come about. We're going to have some hard times, Mayor, but it's important that we can do all that we can do in order to make the times a little less hard for those individuals who will be impacted greatly by the decisions that are being made by the person who sits in the White House.
And I think we'll have on a regional level some serious conversations about this at our regional meetings at the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission and the other regional entities that where mayors and city managers come together to talk about Hampton Roads, because these our economy is very dependent on federal dollars and government contracts and shipbuilding and that kind of work. And so, a lot of discussion about trimming the cost of budget. We're trying to make sure we fully understand how this is going to impact the Hampton Roads economy, which depends on those federal dollars, the federal contracts, and continued support for those. So not only is it the programs that support families, but we're talking just the livelihood of a lot of people, and our economy continues to remain robust in this area. So we got to communicate to the federal government loud and clear that these have some serious implications in our region, and the ability to have some devastating impact on the quality of life in our city. And I think the more we speak as a united front on this, I think the greater and the easier it is to get our message across.
And Mayor, you said it all right then. We have to speak as a united front. We cannot be concerned about what's going to happen for me and not be concerned about what's going to happen to your brother next
Right.
door,
Exactly.
because we have to support each other through this journey.
Yeah, Leah, as you talk about the United Front and Mayor Gray, I just wanted to ask you, and I want to ask you this just because we had a show on this talking about did it make a difference? Local politics. You don't have to declare if you're Democrat or Republican or independent, but most of us know in the cities who's Republican and who's Democrat and who's independent. Uh, and a lot of those Republicans or Democrats, if the Democrat administration, you voted for that. And if the administration, the Republicans voted for that. Do you think that locally, the commitment for our localities, for our local politicians is stronger than, the commitment to the locality is stronger than what might be happening nationally, even though they might have voted that way?
I think it has to be. I particularly believe that in our city that those races are supposed to be nonpartisan, but we understand that. I mean, having campaigned myself, door to door, and speak to a lot of people, I know how much the partisan politics came into that, because people really wanted to know, where you stood or what party you were supporting. So, we know that's in the back of everybody's mind. But, one of the things I've always said, at least, here in Hampton as an elected person, is that there's no Democratic or Republican way to put police officers and firefighters on the street, or pick up trash, or keep parks and clean and make them available to citizens. There's no Democrat or Republican way to do that. These are all quality of life aspects in our city.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to, put aside partisan politics and do what's best to keep our cities, safe, keep them clean, and keep them, available, so folks will really want to continue to live in our communities. And that's really what I know the majority of Hampton people really want to see, regardless of what's happening at the political level.
Exactly.
Indeed. And the colonel brought up, and I'm sort of pivot a little bit, the colonel brought up Fort Monroe. And I think Portsmouth and Hampton, if you really think about it, are probably the most historic cities, as far as the region is concerned.
Yes.
With the history of Portsmouth was going back to the colonial days. We still have houses from colonial days. And Hampton has like a 400-year history when you think about 1619, that history and everything. How important do you think our historic significance will make, as far as advancing us in the region? Because you say you go to these regional meetings and everybody's competing. All the cities are competing for businesses and, to come to their city. You think our historic history will give us a leg up somehow on what happens regionally?
I think yes. The answer to that is yes, because Hampton and Norfolk, along with some other cities, across the state, we're some of Virginia's oldest cities, and we have some challenges that are really kind of unique to those cities because you've been around. Hampton is one like Portsmouth. You're almost a fully developed city, and you don't really have a lot of room for
growth,
redevelopment, and new growth, and the expanse of land that you may find in a Suffolk or Chesapeake or even a Virginia Beach. And so we have the challenges how to find new streams and new ways of supporting our economy, in addition to new development, because there's just not the wide open space available for us to attract big businesses or big manufacturing plants. And so I think we are similar in that way. And so we can rely on, I think, the tourism as an economic pillar. And in Hampton, we do that. Many of the cities are looking now at sports tourism as being a part of that. But I think historic tourism that's available in our communities is always still a way of attracting not only people to visit the city, but for people to live here, because just because of the diverse amenities you have with regard to the history that's there. Yesterday, I participated in the dedication of the restoration of the Virginia Federation of Colored Women's Clubs, which was the structure that we dedicated yesterday with the last headquarters of this group, which was a group of African American women who kind of advocated for education and economic opportunities and healthcare and all in the communities across the Commonwealth. And their last headquarters was located in Hampton, and the Barrett Peak Heritage Foundation acquired that property and renovated it now, and they're turning it into an education space and a place for community meetings, but really for a place where people can come and learn about the history of Hampton and the work that this group did. And so I was very proud to participate in the dedication ceremony of that yesterday. One of the things I ran on was preserving and elevating history in our city, identifying the places and the spaces that are important to the history of the community, and how do we protect those places, and then also bring the stories out and allow people not only just in Hampton but from across the nation to come and enjoy them. We're very proud of the work that's going on, and the story with Fort Monroe. And even though Fort Monroe is now owned by the Commonwealth, well, partly owned by the Commonwealth, and a portion of it is now National Park Service, but what it will mean to the future economy and development, economic development of Hampton, is about preserving and allowing that history to be told and the stories to be told, and for people to be able to come to your towns and enjoy that. And the same is true for a city like Portsmouth. So we share that in being some of the older cities with a lot of history that we can share, and people really want to be able to come and enjoy that in our communities.
And Mayor
and saying
Anderson,
that, how many, Leah, let me, how many, I just want to finish on the regionalism
Go
thing.
ahead.
How much is the conversation about regionalism collectively that you all say, well, let's work together to bring a big business here, because of the numbers, us collectively, the numbers really show that that business should be here, wherever the business goes, everybody shares. Because when you think about it, a lot of business, we go to different cities for different things. We already share collectively. There's certain businesses that might come to Hampton, might be in Newport News or Virginia Beach, and not in our city. So how much of that talk is doing things collectively to bring something that might benefit all the cities, and beyond the individualism that might come up?
And so it has really gotten better over the last several years. I think I want to say first that when our region came together and was able to identify, one was a funding mechanism to address the transportation needs of our community. And so you see the benefit of that right now with the projects that are going. We were able to get some dedicated funding here at Hampton Roads for transportation projects to relieve the congestion, which was really stifling our economy in this region. And so our regional leaders, once we had the ability to generate our own revenue, then the challenge became to be able to identify which projects get to go first. And every city in this region really had some kind of transportation project that they wanted to see happen in their community. But for the good of the region, the elected leaders were able to identify the most important projects first, and then fund those projects. And you see those happening all across the region. And so what that does, I think it really demonstrates the willingness of our community to work together for the good of the regional, because we're all a part of a regional economy here in Hampton Roads. When a manufacturing plant or a large distribution for Amazon opens up in Suffolk, that provides jobs for Hampton citizens. So I'm glad for Suffolk to be able to get it, because they have the space and the ability to build those large storage and distribution centers, but they provide jobs for people in Hampton. So, when these road projects are completed, a person or family or people living in Hampton can very easily get to Suffolk or Virginia Beach or Portsmouth for jobs, the good jobs that are being created. So we're working together with some of our regional organizations like the Hampton Roads Economic Alliance, who are going out and promoting our region nationally and inviting businesses to come, telling them about the opportunities that exist here. But we see that when a major employer comes to our region, it benefits all of us, not just the one city that it may be located in.
Thank you, Leah.
Okay, I have a quick question about the infrastructure projects that President Biden put into place before he left office. What impact is this new administration going to have on those infrastructure projects that have already started? Have you seen anything take place as a result of them coming into office with those projects that are happening now within our cities?
I think not immediately, but I think we still yet don't fully understand yet how they're going to change. Now, some of those projects are already in the works, and maybe the funding has already been allocated for them, and I think that those funds were voted on by Congress, and so
Right.
I think those I don't want to say they're safe, but I think that because of the fact that the funding had already been approved, that's not to say that there won't be an attempt to roll back some of
Mm.
those things. And unfortunately, those infrastructure projects are very important for a lot of communities, and so not only do they bring jobs to the constructions, but they bring new industries, and they're repairing bridges and roads in cities. And so it'd be unfortunate for politics to get in the way and cause those projects to be rolled back just because one administration wants to, kind of damage the reputation of another. But we can't rule out that won't
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
I
Because
don't,
he's taking control of the purse strings now instead of Congress. Many of the programs that Congress has allocated funds for, he is pulling those funds back now, and Congress they're allowing him to do their job that they should be doing as far as this funding is concerned. He and his master, the man who's pulling the strings, they're going through and pulling back things that have already been designated by Congress, so I can just see it taking place, that because for so long he talked about in his last term about committing to the infrastructure. He never got it off the ground. And so I can see anything that Joe Biden put into place, he is determined to call it back, and Congress is allowing him. We don't have a Congress anymore.
Yeah, with
Well,
no real reason.
yeah. Well, Leah, when we talk about Congress, we got to make a distinction. It's the Republicans are doing this, not Congress. It's the Republicans, and we have to make that distinction because we can't give them an idea that they can hide from the fact that they own all three branches of the government. And so we should have known, because when Trump came in behind President
Don't call his
Obama.
name. Bernice said, "Don't call his name." She said, "Don't give him credence by calling his name." The
Okay, how about
man.
this? Okay, when Comrade Trump came into office, the Russian president, all he did is, one, try to roll back what President Obama did, and he's doing the same thing now. So they don't know, or he doesn't, and his acolytes don't know how to build programs to help people or make better lives, but they do know how to erase things, and that's all they know. And so I think the mayor was talking about how we're going to make up programs to help people as these programs are cut back from the federal government. But I think you have to not just talk about from a regional level and talk to how you're going to talk to the federal government. But I think when that child nutrition program is cut and that kid comes in, I think a letter has to go to that parent and saying, parent, that money that used to feed your child, that school lunch program that's no longer here, it was cut by the folks up there in Washington, and the Republicans have cut it or eliminated it. But you're getting it now because we're shifting some money here now, but it's not going to be as robust as it was before. You have to educate them so they will know, the public will know, that your vote or your non-vote has an effect. So you might have voted for a criminal and now you get what you get, or you stayed home and now you're complaining. But now you understand this next time and who's doing it to you. And it's just not hidden in the word Congress. It's the Republicans that did this because they own the government. I think that is clear as I can put it.
You
What say
know,
you,
and as
Mr.
you put
Mayor?
it that way, Colonel, I
Yes.
guess it's incumbent upon us to remind some of our people who did not vote. In
Mm-hmm.
essence, because you did not vote, you actually voted for the
Yes.
man who sits in the White House right now. If you ever want to know the reasons why it is important to take part in the electoral process, this season is teaching us why we need to
Yes.
be educated on voting and we need to participate in the voting process. We
Yes.
cannot sit back and say, well, it's not going to make a difference. It makes a difference. From the time that you're born until the time you die, politics impacts upon your life, and that one vote can make a difference. We see it so often. So it's important that we encourage people to study the political process, find out what's going on, and most of all, cast your vote. Had a young
Yeah.
man that come to me the other day complaining about what's taking place and the possibility he's going to lose his job. And the first thing I asked him was, "Did you vote?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, hey, you are the part of the problem. You didn't
Yeah.
vote, so you don't have a voice. You don't have a
Yeah.
voice because you did not vote."
Yeah.
So it's important that you take part in the political process.
I think we saw in this last election. I know it was true in Hampton that the what you would anticipate to be a voter turnout during a presidential election was down substantially. And I think that that was probably not just in our city, but really across the country. And so folks got to get out and vote. And I hope these as these changes that are occurring and this rolling back of programs, job cuts, and all as they begin to hit home. Hopefully, that will be a wake up call to a lot of people that we gotta participate in the process. You got to get out.
Exactly.
Voting is the key.
And Mayor Ira Darden just wrote last Friday morning must send an email to the Office of Veteran Affairs. 1,000 people were fired at noon. My good friend lost 30 colleagues in her office alone. Black people in DC and Maryland and Northern Virginia are suffering already. The
Mm-hmm.
results of individuals who did not vote. These people are suffering because you failed to do your part in the electoral process.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that
And
veterans.
and I think just as Ms. Darden wrote on there, 1,000 people laid off, and these impacts are going to be felt locally.
Yes.
As jobs are eliminated, because again, so many people rely on jobs in the federal economy, and I know there's some talk about protecting, those that are in the defense industry, but as we don't know yet how they're going to play out because there are talks about trying to find more efficiencies in the Department of Defense budget as well. So, as our economy here in the Hampton Roads region relies on those defense dollars, we'll see those cuts here if they begin to happen in that area too.
Yeah,
Well,
I
Mayor.
want to go back to real quick to and what Leah said. I'm glad you brought up the idea about infrastructure, Leah, because a lot of people think locally that infrastructure is mainly the interstate, the state interstate highways. But for cities like Portsmouth and Hampton, that's important that we get that infrastructure money because it includes those old pipes that we have running under
Oh,
our
yeah.
cities
Mhm.
and the bridges and things like
That's
that
right.
you mentioned. That's how we get from one place to another. So don't think of that infrastructure deals only deal with the state highways and the national highways. It's very important that we get that money here locally, especially the older cities like Hampton and Portsmouth. So I think people let that get past them so often. And that's
Yeah.
a very important issue
Very,
for us.
very important issue.
That's an important point, James. And I think that your infrastructure projects that aging water mains and sewer mains and those kinds of things that are important for our communities. The cost of maintaining and replacing those is really substantial, and so I think there were a lot of communities that, where you're talking about infrastructure projects, it is not just, the aging. Bridges are one of the key because, around here we have lots of bridges and help us kind of navigate these waters around between cities. And so, the bridge projects in our local communities are extremely costly. And so
Yes.
need federal dollars in order to be able to replace that type of infrastructure.
Yes, indeed.
Everybody talks about the efficiency, and I think the mayor talked about the efficiency in these cuts. You have to boil down the word efficiency. These cuts that they're doing from the White House is nothing about efficiency or improving efficiency. It's all about fulfilling an ideal of less government and nothing to do with efficiency, because they're just indiscriminately cutting people to shrink the size of government without any idea of what those people do.
What were they doing?
And how it's going to affect America as that. When they cut from the energy department and you tell some of the people that you are being fired, and these are the same people that are looking out after the nuclear stockpile and how we build nuclear weapons in the future and keeping us safe. There's nothing to do with that. So they don't care about that. So we have this nuclear accident and somehow he'll blame it on the previous administration like everything else. Has nothing to do with the price of eggs, what he said would go down day one. And now look at you. So you like your egg prices now?
You got to get insurance on your eggs now.
Yeah, you got to get insurance on them. Get that liability insurance or whatever kind of insurance.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to go to the corner now with that guy that said, I got these eggs.
Yeah.
Pull it out of his jacket. Got these eggs.
Yeah.
We use eggs and egg beaters or the egg substitute in our household. And so I told my wife, I said, well, if the eggs go up, can't we just use the egg substitute? She said, have you seen the cost of that? That's going up too.
Yeah.
Can you get the substitute?
Yeah.
Hey, Mayor, before we go, we have a little bit more time left, but I wanted you to give a shout out to or mention the Hampton Roads of the 200 plus men, which you have been president for years. And the reason I want you to mention that, the foundation, is because, during the Black History Month and what that organization does and all the young Black men who have come through that organization and going on to doing great things, and or just instilling a sense of pride in them, and a mentorship that you all offer to the young men that come through that program, along with everything else positive they may get. So talk a little bit about that foundation that you've been a part of for years.
Sure. I have the Hampton Roads Committee of 200 plus men and the 200 plus men foundation. The organization has been around for 27 years now. It is a regional organization. And while our focus is on issues that affect the African-American community, our organization is not all African-American anymore, because we have other folks from the community who are interested in support what we do. Our signature event every year is our 200 plus Scholars Breakfast. And I bring that up because it's coming up on May 17th at the Virginia Beach Convention Center. And with that event, we honor all of the African-American males that are graduating with a 3.0 or better grade point average in Hampton Roads. And the purpose of that event is to put the spotlight on, the young African-American men in our community who are doing good work in school and who are on a path to success in life, and to kind of counter the negative spotlight that really occurs through the media and other sources on African-American young men in our community. And so we have gone from the first year honoring 15 young men to last year, I think we got the names of 1,142 1,042 names last year of students that were invited to participate and be honored in that event. And it's a pretty big event. Of course, I will say that, we're concerned with what's going on now and the rollback of programs. We've had great support from the school divisions in our community and helping us acquire the names so that we can identify these young men and invite them and their families to come out and enjoy this event. We rely on sponsorships, and this is about focusing on a particular group of people in our community, and so we hope that folks will kind of see, and our corporate sponsors will see the value in continuing that, and school divisions will continue to support us with that, and they, so far that's been the case this year, and so we're looking forward to another successful year. I will say that I'm no longer the president of the membership organization. I was president for 14 years, and we have a new president now, but I'm still president of the 200 Plus Men Foundation, which is our 501c3 that helps raise money to support our mentoring programs that we have for young African American males. The 200 Plus Scholars Academy is our mentoring program, and we have 75 or 80 young people enrolled in that program from around the region, providing mentorship and exposing them to what's available to the region, and just providing guidance to our young men and keeping them on a path to success.
And let me tell you, it is a great program, and I've been blessed to have attended many of the events that you all have had, and to accompany some young men that I brought with me to attend. So it is truly an amazing program, and one in which we need to keep going, because our young men need to see someone who looks like them, but who dress differently and who behaves differently. So I must commend you all on all that you're doing. I must commend you. It's a great job.
We're
And
gonna
as you
make it.
talk about DEI, we've always had organizations and groups like this that prepare our young men early in life for the journey they have to take in order to be prepared or be qualified for the job. So,
And
you think you're going to hurt us by taking away DEI? No.
and you know what?
We're going to excel regardless.
I think this is God's way of telling us that we need to do more of this.
Yeah.
We need to take charge of our community. We need to tell our story. We don't need to rely on somebody else to tell our story and to mentor our children. We need to mentor our children. So we need more organizations out there who are willing to work with our youth, to bring our youth to a place where they need to be so they can understand their purpose in life. So I commend you once again.
Well, thank you for that. And to that point, our program, we have developmental sessions for our students monthly, along with what we call an enrichment activity, and we're building history into our program. We're making sure our kids, where they may not be getting the history that they need, and understanding and learning about our history in their schools or school divisions, wherever they are, we're building that into our program so that they don't miss that. And then we're taking them out in the community and exposing them to, the historical places and people. And, we want to make sure that our kids are well-rounded. And so anything that they may be missing, we're trying to supplement that with our developmental programs for the 200 Plus Scholars Academy.
And Mayor Gray, it's important that you're showing them and letting them see it for themselves, not just putting it in their ears, but to allow them to see for themselves. History is so important for our youth. And so I commend you once again on that.
Yeah, and as we talk about having solutions to counteract what's happening nationally or with this administration, this is one of the solutions that's been going on for a long time, and that will continue to be a solution as far as our young men are concerned. So we are doing things. We've been doing things already to counteract whatever they might throw at us. So this is one of the things, and I thought it was important to bring that up, Mayor. And I appreciate you and the men. And tell people how they can. It's a nonprofit. How they can contribute or help, or if some men would want to join.
Yeah, absolutely. You can visit our website at you search 200 Plus Men. You'll find our website with all of our programs there. Join 200 Plus Men as a member. The organization still meets second Saturday of every month at 9:30, and you don't have to join in order to attend a meeting. There's a calendar on there to tell you where the meeting is being held. So just feel free to drop in and learn a little bit about what the organization is doing. You can make donations to our programs and our Scholars Breakfast on our website, but I would encourage you to buy a ticket and come out and see it if you haven't seen it in a while. It's really a great event, and
It is.
9 a.m. when the doors open, and all those young men process into the ballroom. That's the most inspirational
It
piece of
is.
it.
Mhm.
It is.
Tables and bring young people to be able to see that. It's a powerful moment to see so many African American young men assemble, in a positive environment, and we're going to continue to do that work.
Wonderful.
And like you said, we don't get a chance to see that on the local
Exactly.
news. We see what we see on the local news. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Slim, I know our time is running short, but I think it is incumbent upon Portsmouth Coffee Talk to remind those who are out there, share with your friends, share with your neighbors, share with the people that you don't like. Today, the 19th, is a day of action, folks. A day of action, preparing you for what we need to be doing. We are the largest consumer group in this nation. So on the 28th of this month, we're having a blackout. We need to hit them where it hurts the most, and that's in their pockets. We can do all the marching against these organizations that are taking a stance against DEI, but until you hit them in their pocket, it's not going to make a difference. So on the 28th, they are calling for all of us not to spend a dime on that day. Not from Amazon, not Walmart, not any of those. Not get your gas on Tuesday. Don't get your gas on Wednesday. Don't do anything. No financial transactions on the 28th of this month. This way we can make a mark. Now, if you got to go to the grocery store, we have E. Palmer's grocery store in Berkeley, which is a Black owned supermarket. And even not so much on Wednesday. If you can, you go to Norfolk to buy shoes, you go to Norfolk to buy clothes, you go to Norfolk to go to the movies. Go through that tunnel, right? As soon as you get through the tunnel in Berkeley, 201 East Berkeley Avenue is E. Palmer Grocery Store. Give that brother your business. It's a beautiful place, clean place, great vegetables, great foods there. And not only that, if you don't want to cook, they got a restaurant in the back where you can buy food to take home with you, and the food is very good. He's a veteran, and he has opened the supermarket in Norfolk. So, but remember, on the 28th, black
That's in the
out
Berkeley section.
in the Berkeley section. As soon as you come through the tunnel, as soon as you come through
Okay.
the tunnel. But it's important the 28th to remember blackout. They're asking us on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, not to spend any money, people. Keep your money in your pockets. If you have to go, we got a lot of little black stores. We got Ebony Arts in the mall. You can go to Ebony Arts. Go to those black-owned businesses, those small businesses, if you have a need to spend money. But don't use credit cards. Use cash, because we want to make a statement. And the only way we can make a statement is by hitting them in their pockets. And let me just say one thing. This young lady who's running for the Prime Minister of Canada, she said that if Trump does a 25% tariff on Canada, what they're proposing is to do a 100%
Yes.
tariff on Tesla. If every country who is impacted by these tariffs would just put that 100% tariff on Elon Musk's business, it's going to make a difference. You got to follow the money trail, people. Follow that money trail and hit them where it hurts the most, and that's in their pockets. So that's my little speech for the morning, Mayor. And I'm sorry, I just had to get it out. It's just we got to make a difference, Mayor, and we can make a difference if we stick together. If we stick together and do those things that we know that we can control how we spend our money. So we need to do our part in order to make a difference.
Yeah. And before we close out, just a little health note. This is National Heart Month, and just want to let the men and women know that pay attention to your body's signs. Go to the doctor, and when you go to the doctor for your regular exam, ask for go beyond the EKG, because that detects certain things, but it doesn't detect everything that's might be going on in your heart. If you're having breathing problems or something like that. So make sure you take care and take a day out to just relax. And when you do that, make sure you read a book. This is a book called The Grift. It's by Clay Kane, and it's called The Down Spiral of Black Republicans from Party of Lincoln to the Cult of Trump.
Ooh,
So
wow, I gotta get that
take an
book.
opportunity to read some books, and here's the message. Another good book to read. And just for the sake, don't forget Nikki Giovanni, Poems of Love. Just
Yes,
take the
yes,
time. And that's good for your health too. Just take your time and read a book. You know, everything is not on the internet. You got to read to stimulate your mind. So I'm always sort of promote and sort of push some books for you to read. We need to get back to more reading than
exactly.
anything else. So, all right, Mayor,
But
thanks. We appreciate
James,
you
before
coming
you
up.
go, one more thing, James, before you go.
Go ahead.
As you mentioned National Heart Month,
Yeah,
Felita Bolden and Bon Secours, on Wednesday, we have a session for women at the Mustard Seed at 6 o'clock, and Dr. Newby will be there to discuss your heart health. So that's Wednesday of this week at 6 o'clock at the Mustard Seed. Dr. Newby will talk about women's heart health. So come out
yeah,
and learn about those things that you need to do, as Jane say, to take care of your heart and your health.
yeah. And the focus is women, but men you need to go to know, you know, because one thing about the difference between women, their signs and for heart problems or a heart attack are a little different from men. You hear about what to look for with men, but women have often been misdiagnosed when they're having heart issues as something else. So make sure you attend that. So, Mayor, we want to thank you for coming on, and I'll say Jimmy. Been knowing Jimmy for a long time, so I appreciate you taking the time to come out as you deep into your administration right now. And if you have any last comments, go ahead and give it to us now.
Well, let me say I applaud you for doing this Portsmouth Coffee Talk and providing this forum for to talk about the issues of the day and keeping people informed. I think you need as many opportunities and sources of information. You can't get enough of those. And as somebody mentioned earlier, you can't just rely on the internet. You got to look at other sources. You got to read and follow and give some thought to the issues of the day and how they affect you, how they affect your community. So I applaud you all for doing this and keeping Portsmouth on the map. I'm born and raised in Portsmouth and love the city. And I still, I see Mayor, Shannon Glover and some of your other council members interact with them in regional meetings as well. And so y'all continue to do a great job in Portsmouth and keeping the community informed. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Any last things, Colonel?
I think that in following what Leah was saying about supporting our people is if you look at the scroll and below, support Black media, and you won't hear what we discussed today on any other medium. You won't go to state-run TV or Fox to see this kind of information or anywhere else. And so support Black-owned media because we tell the truth, we tell it like it is, and that's the way it is.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Remember to like, subscribe, and comments. Well, we see your comments. We appreciate your comments and share this information. And we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Be our guest.